Noniin! We are Metalli show!
Welcome! We just had a very nice chat with Onni from Assemble the Chariots. So it was really good, huh? Yeah. So make sure to follow the band on social media, listen to their songs, check this interview here, and enjoy. It's really nice to talk about Assemble the Chariots and to introduce the band to our viewers, our subscribers. And
yeah, that's great.
so I would like to start with something like that. For those who are not familiar yet with Assemble the Chariots, how would you describe the band?
We're an extreme metal band that infuses orchestrals in their music like many bands nowadays, but our specialty is that we've done it for a long time, and thus I think we've managed to find a way to sort of fit the orchestral parts in the music so that they sound like they've always belonged there. So not as much like something has been added on top of the band stuff to spice it up, but rather the band stuff has been added on top of the orchestrals to spice it up. And genre-wise, especially with the new album, we've broken away from, I think, any certain specific genre. We've been a deathcore band in our history, and throughout the past years, I think we've sort of strayed further away from that. And especially with the new album, I think we've created something like genuinely unique. So, extreme metal.
And you mentioned the past of the band, and although the new album came this year, the first album came this year, you guys have been releasing singles, EPs since 2009.
Yes.
Why did it take so long to come up with a full length?
I just want to say, I joined the band 2017, so everything I speak about the band, that's prior to that, I'm speaking out of my ass. But, so the reason I think, and what I've come to understand for their, never been released in a full album before, is that Kevin and the rest of the band as well, they've always been really focused on trying to make as professional of a sound as they can. And regardless of it being super easy to make your own music nowadays, produce your own music nowadays compared to 20 years ago, it is still very expensive to make professional sound. Right, and it's slow, right? So the band has been evolving throughout their first EPs and singles. Every EP and single prior to the album, I think they've taken the band to a bit of a different direction than the last one.
Yeah.
So I don't think Kevin was ready to make a full album before this, because while the sound has always been, polished and good, and epic and stuff, and the pieces of the puzzle, they've always been there musically, I think he wasn't ready to make a full album yet prior to this one. And now that we've finally found the sound that we want to stick with, we decided to make a trilogy album.
Yeah.
So an album trilogy, so there's more of this sound coming, right? Not limited to this sound, by the way. We have plans on making other sorts of releases as well. But there will be a second and a third part to Unyielding Night.
Yeah, the parts 2 and 3 was my next question. What can the fans expect from that? What can you say right now for something that it's in the near future for the band?
I personally will be focusing on the story. And
you guys have the songs already written, or are you working
yes
slowly
and no,
on it?
right? So no, not fully, absolutely not. But just like Unyielding Night, which was basically constructed 90% of pieces that were already made years ago, right? So the pieces that will eventually create parts 2 and 3, I think most of them are already sort of, at least in the making. But how exactly Kevin and the rest were going to tangle those pieces together, right? that we'll know later. And yeah, like I said, there's a plethora of other releases as well. So we have to focus on how to make all the releases sort of follow a logic, and both musically, thematically, visually, you know, and well, it's a business, so you know it has to follow a certain logic business-wise as well.
Are you guys all of the guys of the band are involved in the writing process too, or is Kevin the mastermind?
Kevin is the mastermind. Yes. So I think we can all say that he's the sole creator of the songs. While there might be some small things that we can put into action in the songs, like producing wise, it's Kevin like 99.99999%. Yeah, and so the only difference, the only exception to that is that I write the lyrics and I plot the story and the concept, and then the visuals come from Niklas, our oldest member and our second guitarist.
Okay.
But yeah, music-wise, it's all Kevin.
Great.
And we actually are happy to keep it that way. He's a genius. I love how I can say this shit because he's not here. If he was here, I couldn't say this shit. He's like a
Kevin,
genius.
if you see this, he said you're a genius.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
And it's so great to work with geniuses. I've had that pleasure before in my other bands and other projects that I've been involved with. I've always had the distinct honor of being working with people who are like clinically genius and insane, but genius, right? So you know, it's made me realize sort of what we're sort of dealing with here, because you know you can smell the genius, right? And I'm so happy to be able to be a part of it. And in the ways of the story, I think I can actually even bring something more to it. So that's what I'm proud of, like personally.
Okay, so coming back from talking about Any Other Night, how has been the reception of the part 1 of this trilogy? You guys had a release concert on the Rocks in July, a sold-out concert. It's amazing. You guys played in Tuska. You have been playing some festivals in some smaller concerts. How has been the reaction of the people who come to see you guys? To the new song.
I want to say it's a surprisingly good response, but I mean, I don't want to sound like a dick here, but it doesn't surprise me. The album is fucking great, right? We worked on it for so long, and I've listened to most of the songs on the album for 4 years now, and they're not still getting old to me, right? So, and I've been so close to the process, right? So you would think that they grow old on you, but they just don't, right? So I knew that we have something really good in our hands. So the reception has been really good, and I want to add, it's been really good as it should, right? Yeah, it makes me sound like a fucking dick, but I don't actually care. It's a great album, and people have been.
Yeah, you guys should really be proud of your work.
Yeah, it's and people have. What I'm surprised by positively is how many people sort of, I think, got what we were after with all the, like Kevin, he wants to make like a movie soundtrack, but it's a metal album, and I don't think he ever used those words, but those words have been used by people who've done reviews on the album. So I think it's so great to see people sort of getting what the artist wanted them to get, because let's face it, there's literal billions of us people in the world, and it's impossible to sort of, as an artist, it's impossible to make something so big and grand and then have everyone get exactly what you meant. But somehow I think that's what he's managed to do musically, and even more so, I'm proud of our listeners and shall I say also readers in a way that they've actually went out and read like a lot of the sort of extra loristic stuff that we've put up online and etc. So because especially in the modern world when everywhere is just so full of content, right? No one wants to take, understandably, no one wants to take the time to click on several different buttons and go to a website and then press several more buttons and then scroll and read. Oh, we hate reading. We want somebody to read it for us nowadays. But still, I think many people have done that, right?
That's great.
And that has surprised me positively. And it's so great. It's so great to, for example, in our album release party and the album release show, those were the separate events. So in the release party and the release shows and all the shows after, there's been people coming to, you know, when they want to take pictures, etc. It's all great, but when they ask me shit about the story, like really specific questions that tells me that they've read the shit, that's what makes it amazing. And for now, I've been doing music for my whole life, but the writing stuff is a very new venture for me, and I will absolutely be, you know, focusing more and more on the writing stuff.
That's
so
encouraging
that's
you
that's a huge encouragement because, like, I'm not claiming to be a best or even a good writer yet. I'm like in the early stages of writing, but I'm in a situation where I don't necessarily have to be, you know, the best at writing because our concept is, I think, interesting enough because Kevin has made such a good job with the music, and the band has been respected in this country for a long time, way before I came to the band. So it's an easy ground for me to sort of start building up from. And the fans have now made it even more easier because they're eager to sort of look into it. And they want to give us the, I mean, at least I feel like they want to give us the sort of the hats for, you know, doing all that. So they actually want to delve deeper into it.
Great. You mentioned about your early stages of writing. I would like to ask about the compositions. What inspired you? I don't know if you can answer about Kevin, of course, for the music, of course. But what kind of games or sci-fi bands? What inspired you to do your writing for this album in specific, or for this trilogy?
For Kevin, he listens to movie music. Like, he has the weirdest playlists I've ever seen. And I know people who are so weird that it is impossible to describe, like musically, right? But Kevin's playlists are the weirdest. It's like, I would say a rough estimate is about 83% of all his playlists are movie or series or anime OSTs, like original soundtracks. And he listens to it, and he's sort of like fishing for ideas, and I think you can see that. Obviously metal, like obviously, you know, that's, I don't know, that's obvious. We're a metal band, we listen to metal. It's simple as that, right? But yeah, other than that, I'm not sure if I can name drop any particular movies or films specifically, but it's more like a feeling that he's after. I think that rather than, on the contrary, I think when he makes something that's fucking great, but it sounds too much like something that he's heard in a movie, he's like, oh fuck, I want to use this, but I can't, and you know, so he wants to capture the feeling that he gets from them and put that into his music, which I think is the only ethical way of being inspired by other artists. Because let's face it, when people say they're inspired by something, that usually means that this is where I take my shit from, right? And most people would argue that's how art goes, music goes. But you know, I have unpopular opinions about this. So I think the way Kevin does it is the correct way, right? And for me, my favorite, lore-wise, like when the stories and everything. Elder Scrolls video game series is absolutely the go-to for me when I think of a well-crafted world with interesting characters, and especially the world building part, because video games are written very differently than movies and series are, because in movies and series you can leave out so much about the world building into the imagination of the reader, thusly leaving you very much gray area space that you don't actually have to specify. But in video game world, where you're supposed to sort of be let play into the world, they sort of have to make it look like something. They have to get like tens or sometimes even hundreds of different people with different artistical backgrounds and different skills, put those people together, and then make those hundreds of people, potentially hundreds of people, work together to make a world that looks in unison. And that makes video game fantasy worlds, for me, the golden standard of fantasy worlds. Again, an unpopular opinion, I know. As a fantasy geek, as a sci-fi geek, I'm supposed to name especially a few writers and a few movies and a few series to be sort of accepted as one. But I don't actually care.
That's great.
The best world building in the world, in my opinion, comes from video games that have been inspired by those unnamed, classics. But yes, that's my answer. So Elder Scrolls universe, and this one is a hot one. League of Legends universe. I hate the game so much, and
Why?
I hate League of Legends.
Yeah.
Have you ever played?
I don't. My brother plays. But
Right.
I see my brother playing my whole life.
Right. So you've seen how he turns red, and he, yeah. So
Okay.
the game itself, mechanically, it's fun, but the people who play it makes the game terrible, right? But regardless, I want to play it. And it's not because of the game, it's because of the story behind the game. There's 200 champions, and each one of them has a lore behind them that's written by, more or less, well, it was written by a nerd in their 20s, 20 years ago, but now has been rewritten by either the same nerds who have become professional writers, or just another professional writer, like later on. And the retconning part is interesting to me because, it tells me as a noob in writing, it tells me what sort of things they would usually want to rewrite and why, so that I can write stuff that doesn't include the mistakes in the first place. So that my sort of dream is to create a world that I don't have to rewrite to make more sense in the future. So to retcon, I don't want to retcon in the future. So League of Legends lore is a very good teacher in that sense, because I think it's probably the most retconned fantasy world in existence, which is why I love it. Like,
And so you mentioned that Kevin loves movies, soundtracks, and everything, and your music videos are something great, something amazing. Do you guys work with some director? You look forward to something, you come up with ideas. It's Kevin mastermind as well for the music videos. How does this happen for you?
Our music videos are made by Rivata Visuals solely. The last 4 videos, I think. Yes, the last 4 videos. And there's no reason that for us to, change working with them in the future as well.
That's great.
Obviously, I don't know anything about future, but they are the best at what they do, in my opinion. And in many other people's opinions as well, right? So, we don't have to tell them much. or Kevin, we explain what the story of the song is, and then they make executive decisions on what our budget allows them to create.
Mm-hmm.
Our videos are solely, depending, I mean, restricted by budget. So, Rivata does an absolutely amazing work, and when we get even more budget than we've had now, I cannot wait to see what they're going to do. Yes, because there's no limit to these guys' talents.
You have had a busy schedule this month since the release of the album. You have been playing concerts and festivals. How it feels to be close to the audience? How it feels to be playing these songs now live?
It's my favorite thing in the world, because the album is crafted, again, thanks to Kevin's brilliancy. It's crafted to be a cohesive, like, piece. So everything, all the songs sort of belong together. So now that you get to do that, like, live, it sort of, for me at least, it further enhances the feeling of, wow, this band, they look the same, like, not the same, in unison, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they sound in unison, and I love how it feels to feel professional,
Mm-hmm.
I've been in multiple punk bands before, etc. So I used to love it because it was so unprofessional. And now I've had that, and now I'm beginning to get a taste of this. So, I love it, and it's definitely great to see how even though we've gained a lot of hype in the last month or two, thanks to the album, we're still sort of, our name has been heard, but not necessarily our music as much yet. So when we go to the festival, we can see that 70% of the audience have heard of our name, but necessarily not a single song before. And how they always have to collect their jaws from the ground after,
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. Just today, before I came here to this interview, I read a review from Dark River Festival, which was like, I don't know if I should cry or fucking jack off when I read to that stuff. It fills me with such emotion to see professional sort of journalists that have been to hundreds of shows, or even thousands in their lives, to sort of go in, not get paid by us, and just write long paragraphs on how that's the best. Our show was the best that they've seen in that 20-year-old festival.
Wow,
it's just crazy
that's
to me.
amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I just can't wait for the future to sort of show us what's coming. Right.
Do you have any favorite moments or concerts from this tour, since you guys have been promoting the album?
Yes. Well, each show has been very different, so each show has their own favorite moment, I think. But if I absolutely had to pick one, I would say that's the we went to Saarihelvetti on 20 hours notice, because the main act of the night, Necrogobligan, they had to cancel, sadly, due to some flight issues on the night before. So we went and headlined the whole festival in 20 hours, time window. And
impressive.
What especially made it so great for us was that, in Finland, the sun doesn't go down at all in the summertime. So, especially like July, it's like the month of all the festivals, the open air festivals.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a festival, and all the dark metal bands, they have to play in the sunshine and the butterflies flying, and
Yeah.
it's just a part of it, but it's also sort of, it's not the look that you necessarily would choose if you were a metal band.
Mm-hmm.
But especially going to the latter part of July, and then when August comes, you get the small 1 hour of darkness at the end of each festival.
Mhm.
But those are always reserved for the main acts, right? The huge, humongous bands, right?
Mhm.
And they get to perform in the dark, right? So we now have this experience. It's like I know bands that are way bigger than us that has never been able to perform in Finland in the darkness,
Yeah.
like on a summer festival,
Yeah.
because you just never get the very last slot.
Mhm.
So that's why it's my favorite, because
Mhm.
now I know what it feels like to
the
perform
feeling.
when it's still like 30 degrees warm, but it's fucking dark, and yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not 30 degrees. Anyway, it's still warm. It's still a summer night,
Yeah.
but it's dark. You look like you should look like.
Mhm.
It's great.
Do you guys have any preferences or of playing of big festivals outside or smaller venues? Does it change the how people see or feel your music in a smaller place or in a big festival?
The last time I answered this question, my answer was along the lines of I like if I had to choose again, I would choose smaller venues over bigger venues, and especially outside venues, because that's what we've been accustomed to so far. And because we're so nerdy, outside of our shows, and by that I don't mean, hey, we're so nerdy. I mean, like, you literally, we give the nerds something to enjoy. We are nerds ourselves, right? So we want to sort of what's the word, compensate that live by going absolutely brainless, fucking kill each other, so that setup works best, I think, in a smaller venue where you can see every person that's in there and sort of look everyone in the eye once during the show and just tell them with your eyes that you have to go crazy, you have to now kick somebody in the head, you have to so. But I also said that we haven't really experienced a lot of big stages so far, so I don't know how that feeling will change once we do. And thanks to the previous answer of Saari Helvetti, the closing of the whole festival, and it's, I can now safely say that when I and even Tuska and everything, even though we weren't outside in Tuska, we didn't see the thousands of people, we saw hundreds. But we have now sort of stepped into the next level as a band, so that has created opportunities for us to see the bigger amounts of heads, bobbing. So I say now that that's my new favorite, and because one of the greatest musicians of our time, Onni Holmström, once said, "What do you mean less is more? More is more. How can less be more? More is more." Sorry, that's how he said it. I agree with that. More is always more. And I can't wait until we get to give people the kind of shows that we imagine in our heads. That's going to take some time, but we will eventually get there.
Yeah. Speaking of concerts, still this fall you are set to play some concerts with Mor Subita, Brimir, and Law Society, which it's one of the biggest names right now in the Finnish metal scene, I think. And you guys all have very different styles and everything. How do you think we'll be sharing the stage with these guys? And are you guys excited? What can we expect of this mixture of Law Society and Assemble the Chariots or Brimir?
Well, Brimir and us, I think, out of all those bands, we are actually most closely related musically. So, and actually, when I joined the band, Assemble the Chariots, we still shared the band practice room with Brimir. So we go a long way with them. We've known their music and them personally for years now. So for me, I've been just waiting. I've been waiting to play with them, and Mor Subita as well. They're a fucking amazing band. And Emeli, their singer, he actually, throughout this summer's festivals, he's been our main folk guy, our sound guy, and we've been closely together. So this is just like basically old friends getting we've been given the chance to get to sort of support our old friends, and it's great. And when it comes to the Lost Society and Saint Aurora show, it's I think it's great to see risks like that taken by production of that size, and we were just in the right spot in the right time, I think, because the original special guest for that arena show was supposed to be One Morning Left.
Yes.
But since the date was moved, One Morning Left couldn't sadly make the show. So again, we gallantly stepped in.
Okay, we can go.
Like, sure, we can come. And I think it was a fine risk taken by the people who eventually made the decisions, because whereas we are definitely, further away from the, sing-along ability to the songs as the other bands are, and we are nearly not, we're not nearly in the same sort of echelon of bandhood as, for example, Lost Society is. But I don't think guest bands always have to be, right? And it's when it all comes down to, obviously, it's business. They want to sell tickets, and now our name has been everywhere the past 2 months, so it makes sense business-wise. But when it comes to the show, which is the second most important thing, because that makes people to buy the tickets next time for them or for us or for the arena or whatever. I think whether you like our type of music or not, when you go to an arena and you're gonna see us perform and hear the whole thing, you're gonna find something that you're gonna like about the feelings that you get. It might not be the music, I absolutely understand. Extreme metal is extreme for a reason. For those people,
so different kind of experience.
Yeah, we want to give an experience, and I think we've now been given the perfect opportunity to give an experience. And I think our music belongs to arenas, smaller or bigger. So we've been given the taste. We've been given the chance to get the taste of that, and I'm grateful for that chance. And we will definitely give them their money's worth. That's for sure.
And what are the plans for the band for the near future? Let's see, from the next year or so.
Like
or
any
2 years.
like any zombie hive mind, it is to grow bigger and grow bigger, and conquer as much as we can. And unlike any zombie hive minds, make fucking great music on the side.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Would you like to leave a message or something for your fans or for your potential fans of Assemble the Chariots?
My message is to, in spite of how the world wants us to sort of, swallow without chewing all the content that we have, every now and then take a moment to sort of think about what all of those powers are that have caused the content that you see to become. Because even in the most cringiest AI videos that you see in the online, there's somebody, trying to make something out of it. And it's usually money out of you. But then there's the 10% who actually want to make something for you, and sure, make some money while at it. But, when you start really chewing down what you see online and hear online, you start to be able to recognize those two things and separate those two things, and maybe your algorithms will start showing you more higher quality of content. And why I say all this is obviously very selfish, because I want you to chew on my content. But it's also like a pride thing. I want people anywhere who put so much time and effort into their art to be able to feel like their art is appreciated. So read the lyrics and look at the tabs and go watch these interviews and Google stuff and ask stuff. You can always
Be curious.
Yeah, exactly. Be fucking curious.
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, my favorite, my favorite one, probably one of my favorite persons. He always says, always look up. So always look up.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
You too. Thank you.